Have you ever thought this whole problem would go away if I just didn't have these thoughts? Now that's quite a common thing that I hear from people with OCD, particularly when I ask them what their goal is. Very often they'll respond to get rid of these thoughts or to not have these thoughts. But what I want you to consider now, and what I'm going to be talking about, is the idea that the thoughts themselves are not the problem. And if that's the case, then what is the problem? The problem is how you respond to the thoughts. So let me explain that a little bit further. The first thing is, who's in charge of the things that pop into your head? Often people answer, well, I guess I am. But I want you to consider that for a moment. Do you actually think that you control the things, the random thoughts that pop into your mind? So if you're walking along the street and you see your funny colour front door and a thought pops into your head, oh, that's a weird colour to paint your front door. Did you control whether that thought popped into your head, or did it just pop in there? It just popped in there. And what we know is that we actually don't have control over that level of our thinking. These kind of pop-up thoughts, this stuff that pops into our head, it just comes without us controlling it. So yeah, things might influence it, like for example the funny colour door influences whether we have the thought, but we can't actually control whether we have the thought. Now, why is that particularly important for an OCD sufferer to understand? Well, the thing is that the more you try and control what you think, the more you tend to have the kind of thoughts that you don't like having. So let me do a little experiment with you. If I said to you, close your eyes and for 15 seconds, all I want you to do is not think about a pink elephant. So close your eyes, just don't think about a pink elephant. Not in any way, shape or form. No images of it, no trying to get rid of images of it, nothing. What happens when you try hard not to think about something? Well, my best guess is that probably either you get images of it, thoughts of it, or you start thinking, I mustn't think about it, I mustn't think about it, in which case you're still kind of thinking about it, you're thinking about not thinking about it. So you're kind of in touch with the idea of it. So as soon as we start saying, I mustn't think about something, we tend to think about it. So the more you try and block them out, the more you try and not have the thoughts, the more difficult it becomes. So essentially, I want you to think about it like this. Say we've got two levels of thinking, maybe more. But say you've got two levels of thinking. One is your pop-up thoughts, the stuff that pops into your head. Then we've got another level of thinking, and this is the level where we can control. We can't control the stuff that pops into our head, but what we can control is what we then decide to do with it. So we can control what we make of it, you know, what we make that thought mean, and what we do with it, i.e., do we want to keep thinking about it, or do we just want to let it go? So in the example I gave earlier of that's a funny colour door to paint, a funny colour to paint your door. You know, do you hold on to that thought? Do you keep thinking about it? Do you think, but why did they paint that colour, and why did I have that thought? It's really important. Paint must be really important to me if I'm thinking like that. My guess is probably not. You probably just have the thought and barely notice it. It just passes. Now, why does it pass? Now you could say it's because the thought's not important, but who deems whether or not it's important? You do. But let's just consider that you gave the same amount of importance and meaning to the things that pop up into your head that you don't like, the things that you refer to probably as intrusive thoughts or obsessive thoughts. Things like, what if I'm a paedophile? Or did I turn the tap off? Or did I run someone over? Or something bad's going to happen to my family. Those kind of thoughts or images that have come along those same kind of lines. Those things that pop into your head. What if you gave them the same amount of importance as you just gave to the pink elephant popping into your head? How disturbing would they be for you if you imbued them with that same amount of importance, which is really very little importance? They wouldn't really be disturbing, right? Now, I understand that that's quite a difficult concept when you've been imbuing thoughts with a lot of importance. The idea of saying, well, just because you get an image of, you know, your family dying in a car crash, it doesn't mean it's going to happen and you should just let it go. It seems a bit flippant. But what we know is the more time you spend trying to not have those thoughts because of how important they are, the more you're going to have them.